Hello rock stars. Tonight we're going to talk about area models with multiplication. If we remember, we talked about rectangles, how to find area in class. When we were finding perimeter, we talked about that was adding the distance around. When we're referring to area, we're talking about the square units that are inside that object. So for example, if the dimensions of this rectangle were 3 by 8, that would mean I have 3 rows, 8 columns. So if I were to count the number of square units inside my rectangle, I would find that it is 8 times 3, which is 24. So 24 would be the square units inside this rectangle, and that's also the product of 8 times 3. When we looked at area models with multi-digit numbers, for example 17 times 3, and we wanted to use an area model, we talked about decomposing the multi-digit number into its partials or into its place values. So for example, when we looked at 17, that would be a 10 and a 7. So when I go to fill out my area model, I'd have 10 plus 7 across the top. Still have the 3, and this time I'm not going to draw in all of the boxes. I'm going to just know that to find the area of this rectangle, I would multiply 10 times 3. Gives me 30. And this one would be 3 times 7, which gives me 21. To find the total area, I'd add those two products together, and I would get 51 for my answer, which is what the product of 17 times 3 is. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is we're going to multiply two multi-digit numbers together. So for example, let's say we did 37 times 54. To do this one, I need to realize I've got two multi-digit numbers. So when it comes to decomposing, I have to decompose both factors. So this one is going to be a 30 and a 7. This one's going to be a 50 and a 4. So when I go to draw my area model, I need to realize I have to divide both my vertical and my horizontal into two parts to represent both of the place values. So here I'm going to do the top. So let's say I put my 30 here and my 7 here. And down this side I'm going to put my 50 and my 4. So now when I go to calculate my area, this particular box would be the product of 50 times 30, which is going to give me 150, because remember, 1,500. 5 times 3 is 15, 2 zeros. This one is going to be 50 times 7. 7 times 5 is 35, and then I'm going to add the 1 0. This one is going to be the 4 times 30. 4 times 3 is 12, add the 1 0. And this one is going to be the 4 times 7, which is 28. So to get the final answer, I am going to add up all of my products, make sure I'm lining up place values, so my addition comes out correct. I'm going to have an 8. 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. 5 plus 3 plus 1 is another 9. So my answer is 1,998. Let's look at another one. Let's say, Max, give me a two-digit number.
47.
40. That's my son. Give me another two-digit number.
74.
74. Those are significant for soccer. Okay, so when we go to break down these two numbers, 47 would be the 40 and a 7. 74 would be a 70 and a 4. So it's going to be a 2 by 2 shape. 2 by 2 meaning two rows, 2 columns. So let's put our 40 and our 7 over here, and our 70 and our 4 right here. So this is my 74, this is my 47. It doesn't matter which dimension you put them on. So my first box is going to be 40 times 70. 4 times 7 is 28. add my 2 zeros. This one's going to be 70 times 7, which is going to be 49. Add my 1 zero. This one's going to be 40 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Add a 0. And the last box is 4 times 7, which is 28. Go to add up my partial products. So that is 8. 15 plus 2 is 17. 9, 10, plus 4 more is 14. 3,478 would be my product. All right, let's look at one more. What if we multiplied a 3-digit by 2-digit number? Max, give me a 3-digit number.
145.
145 times, give me a 2-digit number.
62.
62. Well, let's think. When I did a 2-digit by 2-digit, my dimensions of my rectangle were 2 by 2. This time, I have 3 place values. So when I go decompose this number, it's going to be 100, 40, and a 5. This one's going to be a 60 and a 2, which means it's going to be a 3 by 2 when I draw it. So I think I'm going to make my 3 dimensions up here at the top and my 2 dimensions down the side. So that's 3 by 2. So I'm going to have 145 and then 60 and 2. So this one will be 100 times 60. 1 times 6 is 6, and I'm adding 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Here I have 100 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Add 2 zeros. This one is 40 times 60. 4 times 6 is 24. Add 2 zeros, 2,400. This one is going to be 60 times 5. 5 times 6 is 30. Add 1 zero. This one's going to be 2 times 40, which is 2 times 4 is 8. Add 1 zero. And the last one is 2 times 5, which is 10. Add up my partials. I end up with 6,000, 2,400, 300, 200, 80, and 10. That gives me a 0, gives me a 9. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 more is another 9. 6 plus 2 is 8. So my final answer is 8,990. I've also had people add them going vertical. 6,000 plus 200 is 6,200. 2,400 plus 80, I'm going to have a 0, an 8, 2,480. This one would be 310, and then they add those 3 together. I'm still going to get 8,990. Okay? Alright, so let's just think about what the area models would look like. If I wanted to multiply 1,722 by 15, this one would end up having to be a 4 by 2. So when I go to draw, I would need to have 4 columns by 2. 1,722, 10, and 5 to figure out the actual area model for this problem. Let's go back to our originals though. Let's say we had 92 times 71. Think about what it would look like. This is a 2 by 2. What would it look like? Write it on your paper as you're trying to fill it in. So as we're working, the 2 partials for this one, 90 and 2. For this one, 70 and 1. 90 times 70, 70 by 2, 1 times 90, 1 times 2. 6,300, 140, 92. Write out my products. Find the sum. There's my answer, 6,532. Okay, we're going to pause the video in just a second and we're going to put up some examples.